Everybody, I've got a bunch of questions that have been asked on YouTube, and I wanted to do a little bit of a Q&A, but I wanted to do one with a twist. And so what I'm going to do as I answer questions, at the same time, I'm going to slowly build an ambient guitar looped soundscape. So before I get into questions, let's take a quick look at the pedal board. And you'll see that I've got a fairly simple setup going. I've got my usual Wampler Ego into the Strymon Riverside, into my amp modeler, into the effects loop, out of the effects loop into my Morley little alligator volume pedal, into a TC Electronic Ditto X4 looper. Yeah, that's where we're going to loop. And finally, into the Specular Tempus. So let me go ahead and get a little loop thing going on here. Make sure everything's cleared out. There we go. And then I'm going to start answering questions. Here we go. That. It's much funner answering questions when there's a little music going on. All right. First up, Scene123 asks, I'd love some advice on interfaces between instruments and CPU. So I assume that means between the instrument and the computer. Well, I am a big fan, and I am not sponsored. They don't even know I exist. I'm a big fan of Focusrite. And I've got Saffire Pro 40. I'm probably going to update that at some point in the next year to one of the newer units. I've got Scarlett 2i4 that's really great. I think it's a really good value. Now, that's not the only good brand out there, but that's one that I'm familiar with and can heartily endorse. All right, I'm going to answer one more question, then I'm going to add a loop. Loop, layer. Yeah, there we go. Just curious, Axel Alvarez asks, just curious on how you got started on ambient guitar and music in general. Cheers. Well, I've covered that on some other videos, but real quick, grew up in a musical family. When I was a teenager, started doing the garage band thing. When I got into the college age range, I met up with some other musicians who wanted to play old school prog rock. So we started a band and did that, and within the context of that band, which is now several decades ago, yeah, I'm kind of old, but several decades ago, in the context of that band, that's where I started getting into what is now called ambient guitar. We never called it that before. Maybe, I don't know, space guitar, art guitar, I'm not really sure. Just progressive rock guitar using delays, reverbs, that kind of stuff. All right, let me go ahead and add a layer in, and I'm going to use the second loop on the X4 looper. Here we go. Oh, there it is. Yeah, all right. Cool. All right, next up is what artists, YouTubers inspire you or grab your attention? Man, that's a really good question. So I would say artists. Most of the artists that I really like and kind of grab my attention, most of them are older. They've been around because I've been around, right? So that would be musicians like Michael Hedges, Allan Holdsworth, rest in peace, Steve Hackett from Genesis, King Crimson, of course, that would be Robert Fripp. There's a lot of guitarists kind of in that 60s, 70s into 80s time frame that were really influential on me. In terms of some newer artists, musicians. I think like a lot of us, I really enjoy Hammock. I like their view of texture and kind of how they visualize putting together textures into their music. Sigur Rós, not bad. I'm kind of off and on with them a little bit. I mean, I respect them, but I have to be in the right mood for them. I'm not into a lot of post-rock groups at this point, again, because I think post-rock really didn't happen until beyond my formative years. That being said, there are some great post-rock songs. Anyhow, YouTubers, I don't know. Rob Scallon's pretty cool. I've been known to watch Stevie T every now and then for a giggle. So, yeah, there's a bunch of YouTubers out there, but yeah, I'm kind of all over the place on that. All right, let me go ahead. That was a long one. Let me go ahead and add another loop layer. And this time, I'm going to use my EBow. And I'm going to add it on top of that loop 2. And loop 2, by the way, is set to decay. So let's see what goes on here. Me some EBow. All right. Let's see. It would be great to know. This is from Frank Holzer, I think, maybe. It would be great to know what kind of obstacles you dealt with and what choices you had. Oh my goodness, that is a great question. I'm kind of a normal guy. Well, my family doesn't think I'm normal, but I'm kind of a normal guy, and the arc of my life has been kind of a normal American kind of life. So I grew up, I wanted to be a musician. Maybe that's not normal, but I met my wife. We got married. Well, she wasn't my wife, obviously. We got married, and I had some choices to make, and that was, do I pursue music or pursue the lady I love? And I chose the lady I love. I did. And we ended up having a bunch of kids, and I had to put the music kind of on the back burner. I didn't stop, but it kind of went to the back burner a little bit. And that was an obstacle for sure for moving forward and creating. And it also was a big choice. What do I do with my life? Do I want to be part of a family, or do I just want to dedicate strictly to music? I personally don't think, as a young person, it's pretty hard to do both. At this point in my life, I've been able to kind of pick the music up again. My kids are largely grown up now. Youngest is college age. So I've got a little bit more time to kind of look at art a little bit more than I did in the past, obviously pursuing YouTube and some of the albums that I've created. So yeah, I think that was the big choice. Family or music? And if you're there, I think that's an important choice for you too. All right. I feel like we need to add some more layers because my layers have kind of gone by the byway. Here we go. More EBow. Turned record off, so the loop will hang in there a little bit longer. Okay. Next, we've got a comment from Ted B. I'm looking at going from amp to digital and was wondering, do you listen through studio monitors or separate speakers? Also, thank you for helping me find my voice playing ambient guitar. Ted, that makes me really happy to know that some of the stuff here on YouTube has been of use to you in terms of your ambient guitar playing. That's awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know. As far as going from amp to digital and speakers, I use studio monitors. Now, if I were going to play out, I would get a pair of full range, small PA speakers, and I would just use my amp modeler into those powered speakers. Or maybe the Headrush FR speakers. They look pretty cool. That's what I would do. Think I should add some more layers? Yeah, I think so. Let's add in some, I don't know, maybe some volume swells. Here we go. We need to keep going here. Mondrian asks, just curious, do you own or use any hardware synthesizers? Not now. I have owned hardware synthesizers in the past, especially when I was heavily using guitar synthesizers. But right now, the synths that I use are all software-based synths, and I've got them plugged into Logic Pro, which is my recording software. All right, let's do another question here before another loop. For a new guitarist, what are some good exercise progressions for learning finger picking? All right, so I don't have specific progressions, but I've got a couple of videos on finger picking and thumb picking, which is a form of finger picking. So I will link those in the video description below. All right, also, unrelated, do you own an acoustic baritone guitar? I own two. I have a Tacoma Thunderhawk, which is no longer made, and I have a Taylor baritone, 320E, I believe is the model. Okay, think we need another layer of loops. Here we go. Not bad. I like that. We'll keep it. All right, let's keep going here. Get this thing done. Do you practice meditation or mindfulness? Jim Messino asked this. Do you believe that it fosters creativity? Oh, that's a great question. So, I don't meditate it depends on what you mean by meditation. So I'm an old, crusty, rusty Presbyterian kind of Christian. So for me, meditation is all about reading the scripture and prayer. So if that's what you mean by meditation, then yeah, I meditate. But if you mean like transcendental meditation or maybe meditation that is associated with Eastern religions or philosophies, no, I don't. But the second part of that question is interesting. Do you believe that it fosters creativity? And I think the answer is yes. For me, it does. In particular, as I'm kind of going through the study of the scripture and the prayer part, I do feel like it adds to creativity. Now, could that also happen if you come from another religious tradition, or if you're doing non-religious meditation that kind of focuses your thoughts? Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Before I do one more layer, let's do another question. Bill Kilt says, hey, Bill, do you use a noise reduction plugin in your DAW, or do you just work like crazy to keep your signal noise free? Well, I don't work like crazy to keep my signal noise free, Bill. It's actually kind of noisy sometimes, and I try to mask it in the mix. But I do have noise reduction plugins that are part of the isotope package that I use. But I try to stay away from them because they do, or they can alter the tone. I do try to keep things clean on the way in, though. I really do. But occasionally noise does sneak in. I don't know. Some cases, noise adds to the sound. All right. I'm going to keep going with some layers here. Here we go. Go with that one. Okay. Curious on your workflow. Any tips for efficiency, digitally or physical hardware setups? I've always admired and am inspired by your consistent output. Yeah, so I think that comes over time. So when I started doing this YouTube channel, it was a struggle for me to do one video a week. I mean, it was a major struggle. But I think part of the efficiency part is a couple things. One is learning your software that you're using, learning the equipment that you use, whether it's musical or the cameras, whatever you might be doing. And then I think taking advantage of presets, maybe not other people's presets, but maybe your own. So when you start a new project, you can just kind of initialize everything to your usual settings and you're ready to go. I think also, I'll mention this finally, having a place in your home or wherever you are that you can set up and keep set up. There's nothing more demoralizing to me than to come down to my basement and realize I've got to set something up. It's much more freeing if I know it's already set up and ready to roll. All right, I think more layers. What do you think? That's what I think. Let's do some harmonic ebow. See what else we got going on here. Are there any unexpected weird effects pedals that have surprised you with how well they fit within an ambient guitar setting? That's a good question. I don't have it hooked up right now, but I think the Game Changer Audio Plus pedal really surprised me at how much I like that pedal. It's very, very simple. The basis of it is it just captures a little slice of your audio and creates a sustained note. But the form factor with the piano-like pedal and it being pressure sensitive is pretty amazing. And it's a very expressive kind of drone pedal. It really did surprise me. So that's one that comes to my mind. All right, Lee. Metronomes in music. Necessary? Possible? I think it's definitely possible, and maybe not a metronome, but a sense of pulse may be necessary in a lot of ambient music. And I've got a video for that. Yeah, ambient music and groove. I'll link it in the video description below. All right. One more question before another loop. What gear, this is Ukarsh. What gear would you suggest an amateur musician should get to get into ambient music? Well, I'm going to link How to Play Ambient Guitar, Episode 1, also in the video description below. But let me just tell you what I think the vital pieces of equipment are. Obviously, a guitar, and you'll need an amplifier or a digital amp modeler, whatever you prefer. Then, if you're not relying on the built-in effects of an amp modeler or a multi-effects unit, then you'll need a couple of pedals. One, I think, is really critical. It's a compressor. That's to smooth out the dynamics of your tone. And then optional is a distortion or overdrive if you're looking for those types of tones. And then a volume pedal. I believe that, at least for me, that is critical to be able to control the envelope of your sound with a volume pedal. If you really don't like volume pedals, you can also use the volume knob on your guitar. I do find volume pedals are a little more convenient, actually a lot more convenient. Then finally, I would also recommend a delay pedal, and there are a ton of delay pedals. Fifth thing below, how to choose a delay pedal that's best for you. I'll put that down there too. Sorry, this was not meant to be a plug for all my videos, but I do have videos for those topics. You don't need to get a reverb to start with. I know, it's heretical, but I don't believe you need a reverb to get started with. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add a few other loops going on here. As always, I'll see you all on the next video. I hope you hang out though for a minute as I play some loops.